What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. It happened. The long-threatened, half-joked about whispered rumor turning into reality in just a few days. The Kremlin has officially initiated the descent of the Iron Curtain 2.0 and slammed the door shut on voice and video calls through WhatsApp and Telegram. Two apps that, let's be honest, were the last scraps of free, unmonitored communication available to millions of Russians. I can personally confirm it. It is no longer possible to use video calls in these apps. The picture constantly freezes, the audio sounds like underwater and with the multiple echoes, and it's just constant, not just during jamming hours. That's it, these two apps are unusable on the territory of Russia. This is not about a technical glitch or a server hiccup. This time the state came out and said it plainly. We flipped the switch because we can. No excuses, no half measures, no waiting period, nothing. And that speed, that ruthless speed is what should make Russians extremely concerned. If they can completely eliminate the usage of foreign apps on the territory of an entire country, what else can they do? But honestly, the real question is not why did they do it, because that's obvious. The real question is why now? Why in the late summer of 2025, when both the budget and the social contract are collapsing at real time? Why does the Kremlin suddenly decide it's time to tighten the noose? Why pull the plug on free calls in the same breath as they unleash record spending and practice internet blackouts across Russian provinces? Why does a regime that always pretended to move carefully, cautiously, with at least some kind of explanation, suddenly acts like a gangster kicking down the door with a baseball bat? Today, let's answer this cascade of monumentally important for the Russia's futures questions. For years, Roskomnadzor, the state's censoring pitbull in the digital yard, operated slowly, almost bureaucratically. Ban a site here, slow down a service there, block a VPN on Friday and unblock it on Monday because half of the ministries were apparently using it. It was ridiculous, clumsy, almost cartoonish. But this ban, it is different. No slow suffocation like they did with YouTube. No pretending about technical compliance. Just a clean execution. WhatsApp and Telegram calls are gone. And you know what? This abruptness is the point. They want the public to see that no warning is necessary anymore. The Kremlin has stopped even pretending that it owes its citizens a process or an explanation. Just do it. 5 days of rumor, 1 days of testing, and then boom, just like this, it's done. That's not governance, that's a mafia shakedown. And by acting this way, they have sent a message louder than any propaganda broadcast. You guys, you don't matter. You don't get a say. And if you think you do, we will prove you wrong again tomorrow. This isn't just censorship, it's psychological warfare. The Kremlin knows full well that in 2022, when tanks were burning on the outskirts of Kharkov and coffins were flying home at industrial speed, what really rattled them was not Ukrainian artillery. It was videos spreading faster than their lies. Telegram channels showing reality, WhatsApp groups coordinating who was fleeing and where, families sharing horror stories in real life. That was the real danger to the state. And now, 3 years later, they are making sure that this will never happen again. They do not want another September 2022 with partial mobilization, when draft-dodging men formed kilometers-long lines at the Georgian border, guided just simply by the charts and maps their government could not touch. If another catastrophe is coming, and trust me, something is coming, we just don't know what yet, the Kremlin wants every Russian cut off, isolated, dependent only on the safe quote-unquote state-approved platforms that report straight back to them. In other words, it is not about just killing your WhatsApp call to your cousin in Berlin. It's about killing your sense that you can act independently as the state at all. We briefly mentioned Russia's own new state-approved messenger, and its name is Max, as some of you guys might have heard. Let's talk about it in our next chapters in more details. Enter Max, the Kremlin's Frankenstein monster of a messaging app. VK's proud little offspring, wrapped in the colors of patriotism and digital sovereignty. For years nobody wanted it. Not even the die-hard propagandists used Max for private chats. Because, well, why bother when everyone knew it was basically FSB direct messenger? But with WhatsApp and Telegram got it, Max suddenly transforms from an unwanted cousin into the only child in the room. You now simply don't have a choice not to use it. The regime does not care if it succeeds commercially. They care that it becomes inescapable. I'll not be surprised if one day all phones sold in Russia would come with pre-installed Macs. Normally, the Kremlin would have rolled this out in slow motion. First force the bureaucrats, then the schools, then the local governments, then the unlucky public. Instead, they hit the panic button. The ban comes first, the forced migration later. Why? Because time is suddenly the most precious commodity. The state cannot afford 5 years of patient herding. They need millions onboarded, monitored, and silenced now. The propaganda machine will frame it as a victory over foreign tech giants and also Western surveillance, without obviously saying that the surveillance becomes domestic. They will roll out endless TV segments, propaganda about how only true patriots use Macs and how traitors cling to banned apps through capitalistic VPNs. They'll show grandmothers smiling as they send secure stickers to their grandchildren, shopping lists for their families, things like this. But the reality is far uglier. It is a big brother on steroids. A system where every call, every text, every voice memo exists only to be replayed in some grey office in Lubyanka. That's where the main FSB building is located. And let's not forget the absurd excuses that came with this move. Supposedly it is to fight cybercrime, to save grandma from losing her pension to some scammer using Western apps. I mean, really? After blowing trillions on war, the Kremlin suddenly cares about pensioners' lost savings, which is still not even that much, I don't know, $500. Please, I mean, come on. If they wanted to fight fraud, they would start by arresting their own officials who rob entire regions empty. But no. The narrative is just a smokescreen. The truth is simpler. Macs cannot succeed until every alternative is strangled. And strangling has officially begun. But here's the twist. By moving this fast, they are admitting weakness. If Macs was truly attractive, if people actually wanted it, the state would not need to criminalize its competition. You don't have to ban iPhones so people can get some kind of Kremlin phones. You don't need to ban when your innovation is garbage, and, well, the Kremlin knows that Macs is garbage, which is why it is forcing the entire population into its rotten embrace. But could the ban of WhatsApp and Telegram be just the beginning of something else, much bigger? Let's figure this out in our next chapter. Here is the part that should scare you the most, definitely if you're from Russia. This is not just about messaging apps, this is a part of a bigger rehearsal. The practice runs for something even darker. Did you hear about Nizhny Novgorod, for example? Whole regions cut off from mobile internet under the excuse of drone attack, except that there were no any drones. It was simply a test to see how a Russian city reacts, the entire Russian city, when you rip away its last connection to the outside world. How fast do people panic? How fast do rumors spread without confirmation? How fast does the order collapse? These are not hypotheticals, these are live experiments already in Russia happening right now as we speak. And why now? Because the Kremlin learned the hard way in Ukraine. In 2022, ordinary Russians watched unfiltered war footage on their phones at the comfort on their couches. They saw tanks burning, soldiers crying, mothers begging at recruitment offices, and that access to truth sparked real resistance, mass protests, exodus and refusal. Now imagine the regime preparing for round 2, another war, maybe in Baltics or in Central Asia, maybe even some stupid mindless escalation against NATO itself. Do you think they will allow Russians to coordinate escape routes or spread footage of blown up columns? Well, obviously no, not this time. This time they want silence, they want darkness. That is precisely why they are running these drills, killing WhatsApp and Telegram calls and then just funneling everyone to Macs. Because they know the next war will collapse even faster than Ukraine if the truth leaks out in real time. They have concluded that free communication, not HIMARS, not sanctions, not NATO even, this is what is the greatest existential threat to the regime, and so they are cutting it off at the root. And let's be clear, this is not the drill once again. This is the Kremlin actively preparing for the day when entire provinces go dark, not just cities. When only way to get information will be on smuggled USB drives like in North Korea, or word of mouth. Obviously much slower. It is a dry run for wartime martial law, except without announcing it. I mean, just think about it. A state that tells you we are just protecting you from cyber fraud is secretly just practicing how to plunge your world into silence and darkness of the Iron Curtain the moment it suits them. That's not paranoia, that's a preview. Here is where all the threads tie together into something deeply disturbing. It's not just a messaging apps ban. It's not just budget madness. It is not just drills in random provinces. It's all of it at once. Russia is overspending at wartime levels, reaching into national wealth fund it swore it would never touch, while simultaneously stripping its people of communication rights at record speed. You don't have to be a genius to see the writing on the wall. The Kremlin is gearing up for something, and it is not peace. Every time Russia stripped freedoms in the past, it was a prelude. In 2014, Crimea, in 2022, the invasion of Ukraine, in 2015, well, the Alaska summit with Trump, and suddenly every Russian voice call is now unsafe. Suddenly federal spending spikes beyond reason. Suddenly cybercrime justifies nationwide censorship. Just ask yourself, does that sound like a government simply tightening screws for fun? Or does it sound like a regime clearing the decks for a massive, reckless leap into another catastrophe? The saddest part is that we don't even know the target. We can only speculate. Possibly just another Ukrainian offensive, or maybe a Baltic adventure, or some desperate distraction from internal collapse, who knows. But the pattern is there and it is undeniable. Communication bans plus a budget overdrive equals preparation for war. It is the Kremlin's own algebra of doom. And while they may claim this is about protecting citizens or digital sovereignty, I mean, we've heard these lies before, not one time. In Russia, every protection ends in repression, every security measure ends in more graves. And don't think for a second that ordinary Russians don't feel this. People may joke about Max, about Roskomnadzor's clumsy censorship, about the ridiculous excuses. But deep down, everyone understands what it means when the state forces you to shut up. It means they are about to do something so outrageous, so destructive, that the truth itself becomes the biggest enemy. And that is what makes this evil combo so terrifying. Well, Rehearsal guys, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support our work, help us to stay independent and see an additional chapter at the end of each episode. Those episodes will be uploaded to my Patreon, the link is down below. Thanks so much for watching, see you on Tuesday.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell, their twisted words and feeble claims on us all.